Hi guys, this is Yugi Traba 2001 and welcome 10 or 9 years later to my channel and to my DCCR research project about veganism on TikTok. When Professor Gandini, during the first lesson of the course, asked us to tell him what social media were to us, I told that to me, they are mainly an encyclopedia for recipes of various kinds. If I want to make gyoza, for example, the first thing that comes up to my mind is searching for gyoza on TikTok, and doing so, of course, my algorithm constantly bombards me with new ideas for my next meals, and so, in the last 3 or 4 years, vegan content I was seeing in my For You page has increased a lot. Scrolling more and more on vegan TikTok, I realized that when talking about digital cultures, veganism can serve as an intriguing lens to analyze different practices, imaginaries and narratives. Starting vegan content on social media is relevant as, thanks also to the fact that it's a trendy topic, it can be interpreted as a hub where users share everyday practices related to food, a topic where cultural differences thrive, but also express their thoughts on ethical consumption, sustainability, politics, animal rights, and as it intertwines with political issues, veganism can also transform into digital activism. But why starting it on TikTok? Well, putting aside the fact that this is the app through which I've come into contact with veganism, on TikTok, debates around certain topics can be easily followed thanks to the app's affordances of reacting to comments or other videos. Driven by curiosity, I developed my own research question: how the different practices and cultural imaginaries around veganism are displayed by Italian and English-speaking users on TikTok? My dataset consists of 659 TikTok videos scraped through Zeshvimer on a new TikTok account I created for this specific research, searching for the keywords vegan, veganism, vegano, veganitalian, and veganuary in the top section, and that I manually split into two subsets, one containing 227 videos in Italian and the other 432 videos in English. For all of the other tools I've used for my research, guys, I'll share everything in the description. But why splitting my dataset based on the content's language? As I said before, food, which can be interpreted as a core part of the vegan discourse, is a topic where cultural differences thrive, and because of this, I decided to use the content's language as a proxy for possible different cultural expressions of veganism. While English can give us both an overview of a context where veganism is growing a lot, such as the US or the UK, but also as the lingua franca of the internet, an overview of the global and mainstream ways through which vegan content and imaginaries are displayed on social media and on TikTok specifically, the Italian content can give us a specific cultural context, which has also a very much rooted culinary tradition. But this proxy is also a big limit of my research, as it may oversimplify cultural expressions of veganism, and as I'm also taking into consideration only two languages. My research comprised into two main steps, as you can see here. Initially, I conducted a general content analysis to explore the diverse practices and cultural representations of veganism across TikTok, and then this analysis provided me with some categories, some of which I scrutinized through a much more specific visual and content analysis. My content analysis was conducted on two samples of 100 videos each, which were drawn for my two datasets. The videos were selected based on those with the highest interactions, so sum of views, likes, comments and shares. Looking at the videos in my two samples, I've come up with 7 categories that you can see here in the table and in the graph I made with overleaf and pictochart. We have videos about animals, safety and mistreatment, a theme that seems much stronger among Italian content creators. Challenges, where we see, for example, people trying to be vegan for a certain period of time, or people guessing what is vegan food and what is not. And this is something that I found only for Italian context, something that can be explained with the fact that veganism in Italy is still trying to defy these rooted culinary traditions and some strong critiques. We also have debates around being vegan, why more people should turn being vegan, or why veganism is not a wise choice. Lifestyle videos such as what I eat in a day, morning routines, vegan makeup, etc. Memes, recipes that are dominating both community, but mostly the Italian one, which is the less diverse one, and ASMR videos only associated with English content, something that we could explain with the fact that some ASMR videos transcend language barriers with, for example, eating sounds that are in a certain way universal. And well, after finding out that there's a difference in the type of quantity of content displayed by the Italian community and the English/global community around veganism on TikTok, I wanted to further investigate whether we could find some differences within the categories that seemed the most interesting in my samples, which are recipes, lifestyles, and debates. In other words, how are these different contents displayed? For answering this question, I decided to focus on both a visual and a much more specific content analysis. For the recipe category, I selected the top 10 videos from each sample. Among the English videos, only 4 out of 10 featured a voiceover providing instructions on cooking the meal. In contrast, the remaining videos predominantly relied on energetic music or ASMR sounds of ingredients being prepared. The recipes themselves exhibited an emphasis on green ingredients such as cucumber, salads, cabbage, and avocado, and much more generally on vegetables, or on ethnic recipes including Chinese cucumber, Korean cuisine, or Cajun-inspired dishes. Overall, the prevalent theme revolved around the celebration of plant-based ingredients and the global culinary influences. On the other end, 10 out of 10 of the Italian videos had a voiceover, making them more personal, we may say, and only 4 out of 10 had some musical background, which was very calming, differently from the English ones. Ingredients-wise, the focus was not on vegetables, but on a yellowish ingredients, such as potatoes, olive oil, lemon and daws, and on vegan alternatives, for example vegan cheese, through which one could recreate dishes from the Italian tradition. For example, one video tried to recreate the focaccia di Recco. The overall atmosphere of the Italian kitchen and videos gave a sense of warmth and familiarity, evoking the ambience of a homemade kitchen. In the lifestyle categories, I selected the top 4 videos from each dataset. The Italian videos exclusively focused on food, covering how to minimize food waste, preparing a vegan-packed lunch for a beach day, and showcasing how vegan cuisine can align once again with Italian tradition through the concept of the vegan nonna, for example, that in the Italian cultural imaginary about food has a strong symbolic meaning. The English videos, on the other hand, exhibited a much broader sense of a vegan lifestyle, talking about not only food but also vegan hair care, how to grow your own vegetables, or places, such as Burger King, where you can eat vegan food. Finally, in the debate category, I selected the top 4 videos from each dataset with the most shares. Among the Italian videos, through different formats, interviews, Q&As, and so on, we find once again a solid focus on food and the ways through which one can renounce meat without renouncing at what he or she loves to eat. There was only 1 out of the 4 videos critiquing veganism, where a content creator is talking in a microphone in what seems to be a business podcast resembling conservative content on TikTok. Among the English videos, the focus is quite different, highlighting critiques of intensive farming and corporate giants like McDonald's, and one video features, and is very interesting, a Piers Morgan's strong critique of veganism, reminiscent once again of alt-right content on TikTok. So we have these 2 similar videos in the 2 subsamples in the debate category, where we have many similarities, as you can see, between, for example, the shooting angles, the fact that both individuals critiquing veganism are dressed formally. In conclusion, my analysis reveals that there are distinct practices and cultural imaginaries between Italian and English-speaking users on TikTok around veganism, while also noting some intriguing similarities. In terms of practices, Italian content predominantly revolves around recipes, whereas English-speaking creators explore a broader spectrum of vegan practices, extending beyond food with, for example, vegan hair care. Moreover, the analysis of the recipe videos highlighted the different cultural imaginaries. English videos emphasize the diversity of vegan cuisine, portraying veganism as an inclusive platform, but this can be also a product of the limit of my research of English representing not only a specific culture but also a global culture, while Italian content reflects a cultural imaginary rooted in tradition and warmth, portraying veganism as seamlessly integrating into Italian culinary traditions. And despite these differences, both cultural imaginaries convey a broader narrative that veganism is not about restriction, but rather about embracing new possibilities and much more ethical choices. On the other hand, the debate category highlighted a much more political kind of veganism that attracts the critiques of some alt-right content creators, suggesting a cultural imaginary where veganism is related to woke culture and is an hub, as I've said at the beginning of my research, for digital activism and possibly for cultural wars. And this was everything for today, guys. I hope you liked the video, subscribe to my channel, read the description, and well, alla prossima!